She used to make peace. Now she's setting boundaries and public sharp ones. And when he finally complained, it wasn't about love, it was about control. You won't believe how one quiet shift exposed all the secrets they were keeping. Press play to get started. Sometimes the loudest breaking point isn't a scream, it's a quiet shift in how someone enters a room. One woman once smoothed each rough edge, opting for elegance instead of abrasion. Now, she's not talking softly anymore. And when the man next to her finally spoke loud, it wasn't just to be heard high enough so that he could cling to something sliding away in the dark. What happens when a family founded on harmony begins to break apart in silence? When the one left with the burden of holding it all together starts to tighten her hands? Perhaps the real question isn't who remained, but why. Let's start. If I'd had a whole year with Cody before getting married, honestly, I don't think I would have married him. That's what she told him softly, but unyieldingly. It wasn't mean-spirited, just honest. With a little more time, a longer glimpse beyond the charm and glittering smile, perhaps things might have been different. The evening was to be uneventful. A quiet dinner, some familiar faces, and perhaps only a glimpse of the calm, level-headed man that Cody Brown insists is still there. But for people around them, it didn't take much time before the atmosphere at the table turned tense. The tension was not just the typical unwritten stares between ex-wives. This time, it was Robin. Loud, clearly angry, and from what patrons remember, she wasn't in the mood to play make-believe. She got up, right there in the middle of supper, and that's when everything changed. The location? A quaint small restaurant not far from Flagstaff. The Browns have been seen there more than once. The waiters knew them. Most of the patrons did too. And though the menu had pledged to deliver cozy comfort and giant servings, what visitors received that evening was something different. A ringside seat to a sister-wives confrontation. As reported by several online sources, it began with a glance. Not a word, just an eyeball. A young waitress is attempting to keep up with the table dynamics, most likely confused about who was married to whom. It's done before. With Robin now legally only committed to Cody, it's easy to see why there was confusion. This time, however, Robin was not having it. She rose up, literally Roseanne, by one observer's account, deliberately stated, "I am his wife, that's me. Don't look at her like that." Who her was is not precisely certain. Some think it was Mary, demurely sitting way down at the other end of the table, not even gazing at the waiter. Others surmise that the waitress may have simply greeted another woman first. Either way, the response was loud enough to stop the room. The air grew ice cold. All eyes in that restaurant focused on their table. It was described as awkward with a capital A by one witness. Another witness said Cody simply sat there, stone-faced, until suddenly, he didn't. Two different Reddit threads state that Cody finally leaned in just far enough to be heard over the table and snapped, "We deserve some respect. We come here all the time. Treat us like it." It didn't go over well. Rather than demanding respect, his words were met with side eyes and stifled giggles from the surrounding tables. Someone even grumbled under their breath, "Who is this dude?" And the poor waitress. One witness claimed she was visibly upset. She apologized hastily and retreated into the kitchen, perhaps in tears. What happened next was subtle, but telling. Robin's whole demeanor changed. For longtime fans of Sister Wives, the scene wasn't surprising. In fact, some called it inevitable. Cody, still grappling with split finances and shifting loyalties, had recently joked or vented about ex-wives nagging him over property and money. "Now I've got two ex-wives nagging me, still nagging," he'd quipped on camera. But while Cody grumbles, Robin's been shifting. Insiders have observed it. Her tone, her demeanor, even how she presents herself in public. The formerly quiet peacemaker is displaying more pointed edges. A production insider was quoted as saying to a blogger, "She's done playing the nice one. Now she's just owning it." Behind closed doors, and now in public, the act is slipping. That may have been the very moment Cody broke not merely with the waitress, but with the whole scene. The stares, the uncomfortable looks, the unspoken questions regarding who is who. Something inside of him did break. And rather than mellowing under the eye of the onlookers, his tone hardened, amplified. He began to demand respect, laundry list loud throughout the room. But respect, that's earned. And this is the same guy who spent season after season complaining about betrayal, leaving 3 of his wives, and striking out against anyone who dared to question him. So what sort of respect is he actually looking for? It was like someone flipped a switch, And suddenly Robin wasn't just speaking, she was claiming territory. That's when things changed course. The line people repeated long after the table was set out wasn't Cody, it was Robin. Firm, unambiguous, and without a trace of doubt. I am Cody's wife. Not hissed, not spoken with shame, spoken with certainty, loud enough to cause people at her own table to shift uncomfortably in their chairs. It didn't sit right with Might, felt like a warning, like a territorial marker, not only for the waitress, but for all of us observers. One woman who sat nearby told me Robin's eyes were fixed cold and rigid on that server, her jaw clenched, her stance rigid, like the girl had done something horribly out of bounds for simply being seen. It wasn't a jealous look, it was the ultimate unmasking of what many have long suspected. One of the guests afterwards wrote on Facebook that Robin's response was as if the poor waitress had gazed at Cody for too long, or smiled too broadly, or perhaps failed to read Robin's internalized script. And then there was the second cut. Supposedly, Robin gestured to one of the other women present in the group. Perhaps Marianne said, "You saw her. She's his wife too." Or was. That one line or was hit like a brick, especially for Mary, who, eyewitness said, sat halfway through a bite with her fork poised halfway between the plate and her mouth. She didn't utter a word, but her expression? That spoke volumes. For years, fans have quietly wondered if Robin ever really wanted a plural marriage. Back in 2014, Cody legally divorced Mary so he could marry Robin and adopt her children. But even after all that, the spiritual bond with Mary was still supposed to mean something, until it didn't. Now, with the spiritual connection severed and legal documents signed, Robin's the sole survivor. In reality, Robin has survived them all. Christine's dead, Janelle's dead, and now even Mary, previously the first and only wife, is no longer spiritually or legally bound to Cody. And though Robin might not vocally express it daily, observers at that dinner believe she unmistakably communicated this point that evening. She's not only the final wife, she's the only one that counts. One person sitting close by said the expression on her face was unmistakable. Not angry, just superior. Like the entire restaurant should have known who she was. She didn't yell, but the intensity cut through small talk and silverware. And it didn't end there. A couple close by heard a frustrated employee venting in the back. "I don't care who that man is. We're not here to bow down to drama queens." Ouch. And through it all, Cody stayed silent. Hell, he didn't. Apparently, he didn't calm the moment. He didn't apologize. He didn't soften the blow. Instead, he nodded. Not large. Only enough to demonstrate that he supported her. "She's had a lot to contend with," he grumbled under his breath, more to himself than to anyone else. "You people don't get it. You people." It wasn't the greatest thing to say, certainly not for a small-town evening dinner in a town where the Browns already have a reputation and not always a positive one. And this wasn't some secluded VIP table. This was a standard table, in a standard restaurant, with standard people sitting there watching it all go down. Insiders claim that this isn't the first public declaration of Robin's position, but that this time it was louder, clearer, and a whole lot bolder. As if she were finally tired of pretending that this was still a joint marriage, tired of pretending the others still had a say. This was no longer about confusion. This was a statement. She's the wife now, the sole one, and perhaps the sole one who ever wished to be. That dinner moment? It did not suddenly appear out of thin air. It was the newest flame in a smoldering fire that has been burning quietly since the other wives stormed off. Something has definitely changed in Robin, according to those close to the family. Where she once had played the soothing peacemaker, speaking softly and moving quietly, she now enters public arenas as though she owns the story, and perhaps even the man seated beside her. Insiders claim it began just as Mary finally made her breakup with Cody official. Robin's demeanor shifted overnight, shoulders squared, chin up, a confident air she never previously had. That wasn't the sobbing woman we met in season 17. According to one crew member, this Robin is cuter, more attuned, and constantly watching, as though she's protecting something she feels is her own property. And in some sense, perhaps she is. With Janelle, Christine, and Mary no longer living with Cody, or with him no longer sharing a life or a home with him, all of his focus has fallen exclusively on Robin. But far from being able to relax into the role, she appears to be holding on to it more tightly than ever. This isn't the Robin who cried about keeping the family together. This is the Robin who's claiming what's left. It hasn't gone unnoticed by the fans either. A Reddit thread just blew up over a local event story about Robin supposedly correcting someone who addressed her as Mrs. Brown by responding with, "The Mrs. Brown." Whether that's true or not, it's become representative of how folks perceive her now, not only their favorite, but the one who always wanted to be alone. And that restaurant dinner scene? That wasn't a mistake. That was a declaration. Robin always said she didn't want to hurt anyone's feelings. She loved the sister-wife relationship. But the woman who stood in that restaurant didn't appear concerned with feelings. She appeared concerned with setting a firm boundary in the sand. And if the waitress didn't recognize her, Robin was prepared to make sure everyone else did. It's no longer about status, it's about control, about how she's perceived publicly. Robin spent decades crafting her persona as the person who simply desired cohesion. Now that the family's in pieces, however, she's been left with both the authority and the culpability. She's got the house, the ring, the man, but she wants the respect too, and not everyone's willing to hand it over. One viewer put it bluntly, "She's not even pretending anymore. She wants to be the only one." Another wrote, "She's not mourning the family. She's mad we're finally seeing the real her." After that restaurant scene went viral across fan forums, everything changed. The debate reignited, only louder this time. For years, people wondered, was Robin truly Cody's favorite, or just the one who knew how to play the part? But when she stood up and said, "I'm Cody's wife," it didn't sound like a reminder. It sounded like a coronation. She didn't just take the title, she took the throne. Even the body language spoke volumes. According to one supposed diner, Robin flashed the waitress a tight, smirky smile before returning to her seat like she'd just solved the problem, and didn't care if everyone in the restaurant was aware of it. That fleeting second has become huge. Fans are watching rehashes of old videos, replaying every glance and every tear, trying to decipher whether or not the authentic Robin is hiding in plain sight, just waiting to be unearthed. And here's where it gets serious, because although Robin might have thought that the moment would become part of background drama, she overlooked one very critical detail. TLC was taping. That dinner was not a spontaneous evening out, it was part of a planned shoot. Behind the scenes, rumors had the crew already on location. Cameras were in the area, and although the restaurant personnel might have seemed shocked, producers, not at all. One crew member, who wished to remain anonymous, supposedly indicated in a fan blog, "We've been waiting for something like this. We just didn't think it would happen in public." For more than a decade, Robin received the soft edit. But this moment, it may change everything. While Christine, Janelle, and Mary were consistently depicted raw and emotional, Robin's portrayal was always more refined, more managed. Some viewers even referred to it as two convenient tears at just the right moment, quiet strength in just the right situation. But this? If the cameras captured this side of Robin, it could be too authentic for the network to disregard. There's also growing pressure behind the scenes. Fans are complaining about TLC covering for her too long. Executives are said to be paying attention. The days of defending Robin's reputation may be over. And if this is indeed the season when Robin's mask finally slips, well, it may not only change the way fans perceive her, it could change the entire narrative. Ratings may still be strong, but the mood online has shifted fast. Every new teaser TLC drops, every trailer they post, gets flooded with the same comments. More Robin edits? We're done. Stop pretending she's innocent. Fans aren't holding back anymore, and word is, the network's finally starting to listen. According to one of the editing team insiders, backroom debate has been intense. Do they broadcast the entire dinner showdown, the uncooked, cringe-making footage, or cut it into something milder, something more neutral? They have one hand that's concerned about Robin's reputation. They have another that knows precisely what the viewers are going to demand, the unvarnished truth, because the minute a meltdown gets caught on tape, no amount of great editing can make it disappear. This dinner drama is more than just about one cringeworthy moment. It could be a turning point for the entire show. Fans already are speculating over a possible Robin reckoning storyline for season 19. And if TLC runs with it, they may have their largest season to date. Nevertheless, some inside tip that Robin and Cody might attempt to intervene. Sources indicate the pair has previously requested that some moments be toned down or eliminated altogether. But this time, attempting to manipulate the story could rebound, because now, the fans aren't only suspicious, they're enraged. And nothing inspires fan rage like the belief that they are being misled. What the cameras captured that evening may at last provide viewers with what they've been clamoring for all along: proof, not only of Robin's assertion of Cody, but of her transition from the mistaken wife to the one silently pulling the strings. And then there's Cody. He didn't do much to soothe the waters. He didn't calm tensions. He yelled. Several people at the table indicate the instant the atmosphere in the room grew tense, Cody leaned forward and pronounced, loudly enough for the entire restaurant to hear, "I deserve respect. Not we, not my wife and I, simply I." And that single word, the tone with which he uttered it, the resultant silence altered the entire dynamic in the room. Individuals stood still in mid-chew. Even a couple requested to be seated somewhere else. A Reddit account by a self-proclaimed attendee captured it thus: "He did not scream, but it was the kind of voice someone uses when they're trying to prove they're still in charge even when no one asks." Robin, according to reports, winced. Not that she was afraid, but that she was embarrassed. That kind of vicarious cringe when the person who matters to you utters the quiet part way too loudly. And even she couldn't spin it around. Cody had not requested niceness. He had insisted on compliance. And everyone saw that. This wasn't a private disagreement. It was a public unraveling. This wasn't a therapy session with the Browns. It wasn't a closed-door heart-to-heart. This was an ordinary dinner in a town where the Browns already have more notoriety than popularity. Staff were simply doing their job. Diners were attempting to have their meal. And now, Cody was making a minor miscommunication a full-blown crisis of authority. Cyberspace fans filled in the blanks fast. A guy who's lost not one, not two, but 3 wives, has a strained relationship with his kids. And now he's yelling at waitresses? One Redditor encapsulated it. He's not angry at a glance. He's angry because he's losing control. And Robin? For once, she didn't jump to defend him. She sat back, silent, lips compressed thin, as if she didn't have a good reason this time either. And perhaps that was what hurt most. If even Robin can't keep him in check, what else is slipping away? Christine wasn't present at the dinner. That's been confirmed. But for some reason, she still ended up being the subject of it. How? Timing. The next day, she uploaded a picture on Instagram. Just her, sitting alone in a bright kitchen corner, smiling with a piece of pie and looking like someone who finally breathed. The caption? "Grateful for peace and pie." That was all it took. The comments went wild. She knew. This is a mic drop. The classiest shade we've ever seen. And even if Christine didn't intentionally post about the dinner meltdown, the timing was too good to be coincidental. Fans have long thought she's an expert at veiled messages. Following season 17's cringeworthy breakup scenes, she shared a quote about leaving people who erode your peace. This pie picture seemed like the sequel: peaceful, sweet, and somehow more boisterous than anything said at that restaurant table. Because, while Cody insisted on respect, Christine was demonstrating what life is like once you no longer beg for it. Following the tell-all, Christine discreetly shared a picture with her daughter Truly. It had this caption: "Some people bring sunshine, others bring clouds. You get to choose." And here she was again, smiling still, peaceful still, while the internet hummed with headlines about Cody Brown demanding respect and Robin supposedly snapping at restaurant workers. The contrast was too much to bear. As Robin and Cody appeared to be spinning out of control under the heat, Christine glowed. Her complexion was healthier. Her smile came bearing a confidence that fans hadn't witnessed in years. She was focused, she was cooking, she was dancing in her kitchen, uploading videos of her grandbaby. And each time she went online, it felt as though she was sending the same subtle message. You can make it through Cody Brown. You can even flourish. One of her fans summarized it best: "Robin is screaming in a restaurant, and Christine's out here getting cinnamon rolls done. We see who's winning." The crowd wasn't only cheering for Christine, they were rejoicing with her. Her inner strength, her subtle resilience, it was now something of a battle cry, particularly for women who've experienced something similar. Christine didn't have to throw shade or clap back. All of her life now was the clap back. And Robin? She witnessed it, even if she did not approve, because, in the sister wives world, peace is political. According to insiders, Robin still has Christine's account in their sights, perhaps due to interest, perhaps due to something more complex, but she is observing. And that picture of Christine holding a piece of pie, even if it was not directed at Harriet, landed like it was. But Christine's peaceful radiance was just half the tale. On the flip side, Robin's backlash was just a simmering pot. As soon as news of the restaurant encounter spread, fans seized their virtual knives. Hours later, All the details were taken apart, reposted, turned into memes, and greeted with one collective eye roll. Reddit comment sections blew up with hundreds of replies. TikToks pitted Robin's purported tantrum against her classic sobbing Robin image. The internet mood had changed from annoyance to outright roast mode. She snapped like a teenager. One read, "Not a grown woman, not a mother, not a public figure, just pure entitlement with a side of drama." Another went further, labeling her vibe mean girl in a maxi dress. Fans accused her of treating the restaurant staff like background extras in her drama. Then came the viral fan Adidas-stitched montage of Robin's past interviews where she claimed to be shy and peace-loving, now overdubbed with a mocking narrator saying, "I'm just here to cause peace," and apparently scream at waitresses. It blew up in less than a day. But this wasn't merely internet snark. It was a trend, and viewers were drawing connections. They began to make lists moments, scenes, timelines in which Robin's words weren't aligning with her behavior. Her tearful appeals to togetherness versus times when she quietly urged Cody to prioritize only her kids. Her insistence that she never wanted legal status over the others, cut together with the scene in which she eagerly signed those documents. And now, her restaurant outburst, "I'm Cody's wife," was being treated as the moment the mask fell. A Freudian slip so loud, even TLC couldn't hide it. On Reddit, a super thread titled, "Robin's Real Personality, Caught on Camera," took off. Fans dropped screenshots, timestamps, rewatch commentary. One user wrote, "You can't fake it forever. This is who she is when she thinks no one's watching." Another said, "Christine walked so Robin could unravel." The word was out. The honeymoon between Robin and the fans? Over. Now they demanded accountability. And the heat wasn't just for Robin. Cody was getting hot too. "Imagine demanding respect from a waitress when you don't even give it to your own kids," one of the tweets said. Thousands liked. Dozens of reposts. Another post criticized Cody for allowing Robin to blow up, then backing her up like an archaic king protecting his queen. Fans stated that he didn't appear like a great leader. He appeared detached, egotistical, and out of touch. It all created an image of a pair hanging on to power, becoming increasingly defensive each day, and completely oblivious to how much they've lost the room. And although the duo has remained quiet publicly, off the mic, word is, they're shaken. Robin, according to sources, is seething. Sources tell us that she was angry that the moment leaked. Cody allegedly summoned a private meeting with producers from TLC following the restaurant debacle, something about narrative sensitivity for season 2. But in all fairness, it may be too late. Fans have already decided. And just when things couldn't possibly look worse for Robin, there was a new rumor broke wide open, and this one wasn't from a gossipy neighbor or an avid fan from the other side of the dining table. It was from within the production team itself. A supposed insider, a person close to the Sister Wives cast, dropped a low-key but devastating bombshell to a longtime TLC rumor mill blog. That dinner debacle? That wasn't Robin's first time losing it in public, not even her second. "Let's just say the cameras have witnessed more than what's been shown," the insider alleged. "It's not new. It's just the first time it occurred in front of the wrong people." That rant ignited fan sites, podcasts, and Reddit forums like a wildfire. Fans weren't merely wondering about the outburst anymore. Now they were wondering what else had been edited out. What did Robin say off camera? Or, heaven forbid, on camera, but not aired? How long had producers protected her face? It wasn't long before scenes of years ago were being rehashed for clues, jumbled confessionals, stilted edits, disjointed family dinners where tension was palpable but unexplained. One theory that picked up steam was a season 15 scene. One crew member had said in some long ago remark that Robin freaked out when a camera van parked too near her house. "She doesn't like surprises," the poster said. "Since things are not planned to a T, she gets cold quickly." A different scene that was just a simple birthday dinner when Robin hardly said a word is coming under scrutiny. Was it a quiet night? Or did something occur that TLC felt viewers did not need to see? They gave her the golden wife edit. One fan posted, "But the cracks are beginning to show." And they are. Because now, fans aren't merely asking whether Robin snapped. They're asking about the whole show. How much of Cody's favoritism was understated? How much was edited to appear that way? How frequently were the other wives shown in their most unguarded, exposed moments while Robin was treated to soft lighting and sympathetic music? The answer may finally be coming in season 19. If the cameras actually did record what went on at that restaurant, and if producers are finally man enough to present it, This could be the biggest image change the show has ever experienced. Fans aren't merely angry, they're calling for the truth. They've spent years observing Robin cry and mutter, always the wide-eyed onlooker, never the troublemaker. But now they want to know what it's like when the cameras keep rolling and she has no idea. And this time, Robin may not be able to talk her way out of it. Because after all the leaks, rumors, and rewatch analysis, own giant question remains. Is there even a family remaining to redeem? The Browns were never flawless, but they were interesting, tangled, multifaceted, imperfect in a way that seemed deeply human. People cheered them on, for love to prevail, for someone to overcome the chaos. But after that dinner table moment, it doesn't seem like anyone is rising. It seems like the entire foundation is crumbling. When a man insists on respect in public, generally, it's because he's not receiving it at home. And when a woman asserts her role as if she's claiming territory, it usually means she's holding on to something already evaporating in her grasp. That dinner was not a blow-up. It was a watershed moment. The plural marriage? Finito. The dream? Extinct. What's left is something icier. A couple enclosing the wagons, constructing a moat around their pathology, challenging the world to call them on it. Christine's pie wasn't just dessert. It was peace-earned, savored, and proudly posted. Janelle's independence, Mary's quiet re-entries and exits, they all show what it means to walk away from chaos without losing your soul. And now, Cody and Robin sit alone at a table no one else wants to join. They have the house, they have the name, but do they have each other? Or the audience's empathy? In the behind-the-scenes action, insiders describe things as strained. Filming has changed less intimate, more cautionary. Open and natural conversations are being short-circuited, skirted, or simply shut down. It's like entering a fortress, a source is claimed to have said. You can't get a direct answer from anyone anymore. And perhaps that is the biggest indication of all. It's not the gradual disintegration of a family. It's the self-destruction of a brand founded on transparency, now stockpiling secrets. So what's to come? Will TLC show the unedited footage? Will Robin finally confront the backlash head-on? Will Cody ever get it through his head that respect can't be commanded, it must be earned? Or are we witnessing the conclusion of an all-too-public collapse, where the last two standing finally see they may've won the battle, but they've lost the war? Now it's your turn. Do you believe Robin's restaurant meltdown was a one-off or a glimpse into who she's been all along? Is there any hope for Cody to regain trust from fans? Or is this bridge burned for life? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and keep watching, because this story, it's just getting started. The next video on your screen is coming in, trust us, you won't want to miss it.